This is Lord of the Rings Online, and in this video we're fighting for redemption. Over the last 6 episodes we played 5 characters, and not one of them have I reached level 20 without dying, or using a sneaky tactic like cooking. That changes today. You see, in this series we're trying to reach the max level of 160 on the max landscape difficulty level 9. The catch, all my characters have 1 life. However, every 10 levels starting at 20 earns a revive. And in this video we're breaking our death streak, locking in, and reaching level 20 on none other than my Rune Keeper. Can I break the streak and reach level 20, or will I add my Rune Keeper to the list of fallen classes? Today we're starting at level 9, well, now level 10, because I've been refining gemstones and crafting jewelry from our other classes. And after crafting jewelry for myself, reaching level 11, refining ore, and equipping the armor I crafted, it's time to begin our adventure. As I level through Ered Luin, I'm going to be completing the puzzle vault in Thorin's Hall, but to do so I need to collect 5 missing gears scattered throughout the map. Riding out of Thorin's Hall, I debate the line I should spec into. Blue line is the primary healer line from Rune Keeper, allowing for tons of healing, but the damage output leaves a lot to be desired. Yellow line is the lightning spec, amazing for crowd control, boasting tons of stuns and dazes, allowing me to take on groups of enemies at a time. It also allows me to stay mobile, like I do on my minstrel, casting spells on the move. But its damage while being solid isn't as impactful as I would like, so I make the risky decision of going red line. Red line is the fire spec of Rune Keeper and is the primary group play damage line. It has tons of burns I can stack for ticky damage, as well as a ton of really hard hitting skills and lots of AoE skills allowing me to face larger groups. However, most of these skills have inductions, forcing me to stay put, which can leave me vulnerable. Choosing redline means my playstyle on this run is going to be burn, burn, burn. Stack as much damage output as I can, and then kite as the tickies finish off the enemy. I do still have access to a heal, some mobile spells, and a stun with my lightning strike finisher skill, but the majority of my spells, while quick, need to be used with care. However, you'll quickly see why I chose redline. Rune Keeper does so much damage. It's genuinely crazy the amount of damage I can put out, which is why I'm comfortable with going with less crowd control and less self-sustain in favor of more damage capabilities. I do still have access to both, but just not as much. So with the first gear obtained and the intro area quest done, I head down to Naglon and wreak havoc on the local wildlife and spawn a wraith in the process. Heading north, I find Nos, who I have to protect from links that are attacking. This actually is a scenario I don't do too well in. I'm forced into closer range and have to tank more hits consequently. And similar to my lore master, I can't tank hits very well. I'm essentially a glass cannon, but these links are a couple levels lower, so I survive. And after clearing some debris to allow for better water flow, I turn in, reaching level 12. And I notice I forgot to select a good virtue to be training, so my virtue XP goes to one I didn't really need. Correcting this mistake, I slot it in anyway for the extra stats and start training wisdom, which will help me with my damage output and healing output. With that taken care of, I decide to take on the ruins of Oradost, taken over by goblins. And on my way in, defeating this Hendrivel for my quest, I spawn a wraith, and this could not be a more perfect spawn timing. You see, you can spawn a wraith when defeating mobs close to your level. However, another wraith cannot be spawned by you for 7 minutes minimum. So with this wraith spawning outside and out of my way, I can approach this ruin much more freely. Knowing this, I dive right in. We're taking on this ruin for a couple reasons. We need to defeat the chief, take out a bunch of the goblins, and find the second missing gear deep within. And remembering to slot my trait point, I unlocked the single greatest skill in the arsenal as the Rune Keeper, the volcanic runestone. This runestone can be placed at my feet, or later on, once I spec more points into it, can be placed at range, leaving a runestone that pulses a ton of fire damage from its position, hitting up to, I believe, 10 enemies. On top of that, it has its own health bar, so when I drop the runestone and it damages an enemy, it takes aggro, and that enemy then starts attacking it instead of me. This gives me tons of extra time to cast my big damaging skills and burn down solo and groups of mobs with ease. This is why I went redline. Yellowline has a similar runestone that pulses lightning and stuns, but doesn't do nearly as much damage. This build is completely set up for overwhelming damage, and these goblins are feeling it. Approaching the top of the ruins and the boss within, I scoop up the second missing gear and continue clearing my way to the boss. And with the way clear and the loot in the area properly scooped, I take on the chieftain, and using my runestone and my burn finisher, I melt him. And on my way back to turn in, taking out another bird spawns another wraith. And with this level 160 guard next to me, I feel quite safe to hit him a couple times to see if this would even be possible solo. The answer? No. Well, not yet. I do think I'll be able to take the rate down on my Rune Keeper, but not yet. I need the corruption removal and a bubble, but then it might be possible. So after some Lotro teabagging, I turn in and head to the next Dwarven outpost of Gondomon. And upon arrival, I complete an exploration deed discovering all the places of the Dwarves, and rewarding me with 2 virtue levels of wisdom. After slotting the virtue, I gather up all the quests and head out to complete them all. First up is this Dower Hand camp. Here I get to show off my fiery skills. This is the burn skill I used on the Goblin boss. Crazy damage because the attunement bar is maxed out. The way this skill works is I build up my attunement and it drains the bar to use as a finisher skill, the same way this lightning strike works. Drains the attunement bar but does a ton of damage and stuns. I find this elf again but can't interact with him because I'm not an elf, so I continue on to complete my quests. Yo, check out this trick I can do. I want to mine this copper but I have 2 wolves after me. I'll just put this here and boom! I can mine while my runestone does all the work for me. Love this skill. Next up, I finish my round of quests by taking on these goblins in style. And I turn in reaching level 13, earning more virtue levels, and head over to Thrassy's Lodge to get the next round of quests and take out a bunch of Hendrival for this deed. The runestone is so good for this, watch this. I can ride through aggroing everything and just drop it down and watch. Easiest deed farming ever. Next up is Skithy Blackhand. I gotta take him out and I've got an idea on how to get to him. Oh no, this is bad, hang on. Nothing, a little bit of kiting, a flick shots, and a second volcanic runestone can't handle. And with the real danger gone, I take out Skithy, take a victory scoop, and head east to take on the undead and find the 3rd gear. Here I spawn a Wraith and bravely reposition to a further vantage point. And once the Wraith retreats in fear of my great power, I re-engage from a different position as to not re-traumatize the poor Wraith. And pushing deeper to the ruins, I clear my way to the 3rd gear in this chest. And clearing my way to this loot, I level to 14 and scoop up the loot as a proper reward. And with the undead area completed, I say hello to my bird friends once again. Oh my gosh, it's so satisfying. Look at all that XP. So the 4th gear lies in Keldul, which is overrun by evil Dower Hand dwarves. On the way in, I recover a stolen bow from Starketh, and clearing the guards at the gate, I spawn a Wraith. This is really unfortunate because now he's blocking my way into the fortress. I decide to sit right by the door and stack my buffs. And my patience is rewarded as he moves just outside of aggro range, allowing me to enter. Once inside, I continue with my volcanic runestone shenanigans, aggroing as many mobs as possible, then trying my best not to die. What can I say? This is the most efficient way to take out mobs. This is why Rune Keeper is one of my 2 favorite classes in the game, Warden being my other favorite. However, trying to take on a billion mobs isn't always the smartest thing. This time round, I almost die. For whatever reason, a bunch of these guys don't aggro the runestone, leaving me running for my life trying to heal best I can. Luckily, I have access to my bubble when I tuned in the green side of my attunement bar, giving me extra temporary HP, which is enough of a buffer to finish off the fight. And after that scare, I grab the 4th gear, drop my runestone on a bunch of mobs on the way out, and visit the Hedgeval nest once again for that satisfying dopamine hit. Oh yeah. I then return to the undead ruins to grab this sword and take out this white master. And early on he gets this blue enraged buff that actually makes the fight a bit tougher. But with the master defeated, I continued east in search of the 5th gear, which lies deep in this spider lair defended by the queen and her brood. So I began clearing out the place, taking out solos, blowing up the queen and the spiders around her with my trusty runestone, leveling me to 15. And with the coast clear, I scoop up the 5th gear and accept my level 15 quest, which I'll get when I head to Bree. And on the way out, I help Bursey because he's once again found himself stuck in the spider lair since the last time my minstrel saved him. Luckily for him, I'm here to save the day once again, and we burn through the spiders and get him out safely. Surely I won't get stuck again when I level through here in my hunter. Heading back to turn in, I finish my Hendrival Slayer deed, earning even more virtue levels. You see, I'm turning over a new leaf. This time around, instead of going straight for damage, I'm going for more health. Rune Keeper already does a ton of damage, but what I'm lacking is toughness and HP, which I can fix with earning the passive HP bonus from all the defensive traits. But now with all 5 gears collected, I return to Thorin's Hall and speak to Bavor. He tells me the mechanism is fixed and it's time to open the puzzle vault. So I head over and take out the riddle, and it is as follows. We have 4 levers: Moon, Jewel, Axe, and Sun, which need to be pulled in a specific order to unlock the vault. Pulling the wrong lever resets the puzzle. If you want to figure out the riddle yourself, close your eyes or turn away and just listen. The riddle goes, the axe bites deep before first light of sun. The sun rises after the moon has set. A jewel may be found in the light of the sun. Jewels are only found after much hard work. Before all else, the silvery light of the moon can be seen. The answer to the riddle is moon, axe, sun, then jewel. Opening the vault, I find a single rock. Speaking to Bavor, he tells me this rock is the first ore ever mined by Durin, a revered figure in Middle-earth. With the treasure vault and all the other quests done, it is time to take on the Circle of Wrath Tereg. And much like my minstrel, I make my way around the circle, fighting off hordes of goblins, discovering every point of interest, and farming my Spider Slayer deed in the lair next to the southern barricade. And man, is it so much faster to farm all these kills with this runestone. I can just burn wave after wave after wave. And after making my rounds killing every spider I could find, I finally completed the deed and set out for the top of the mountain to take on the elite goblins. Making my way into the first level of the camp, I reached level 16 and tried my hand with just one of the elites. A much tougher fight, but it's working out, so I continue on up, taking on this duo at the top, utilizing my days to single out fights and my runestone to hold aggro. And I repeat this strategy, clearing out the whole peak, even taking out the chief. After rewarding myself with a victory scoop, I start clearing my way back down the mountain, and after taking this slicer out, I was left with a nasty bleed and poison combo that even after he was dead got me super low. Luckily, I was able to out heal it, but if I get stacked like this mid-combat, that could end things really quickly, something I'll need to watch out for. And almost reaching the bottom, I spawn a wraith right in my path. There's no way of getting around him, so I run back up and start clearing the respawn mobs behind me so I don't get too stacked up on while I figure out what to do. I could just wait him out, but I'm too impatient for that. With my back safe for the moment, I remember back to when I faced this area on my minstrel. Run it back. You gotta love when a plan goes so perfectly. And right on cue, Gazrip the Goblin I needed to defeat walked out, so I fried him up with his guards. The Circle of Wrath Tereg has once again been conquered. And with all the quests completed, I finished the last main storyline quest here in Ered Luin, completing my Explorer of Ered Luin deed, and then continued all around the map finishing my Brigand Slayer, Explorer of Elf Ruins, and Wolf Slayer. This filled up my virtue levels quite well, giving myself an additional 35 HP, which might just save me in the future. But we have to laugh at past Hazken for not slotting wit over charity. Shame, come on past Hazken, lock in. But with Ered Luin completed once again, I ride debris where our story continues in the next episode. Hey, psst, you're on the end screen, subscribe you goofball. And don't worry if you're already subscribed, I see you. You and your 6-pack in your mansion. Watch the next episode here.